This is Alex Hormozi's $100 million scaling formula. More, better, and new. So if you are an entrepreneur with shiny object syndrome, then this is the video for you, because I have been there, trust me, always trying new things, but almost always the first thing that you should be doing is more. And I'm going to explain to you how it works and why. So yes, the core four exists, and these are the methods for getting attention, but the more, better, new framework is the way to supercharge all of it, right? And so you shouldn't be doing all of these core four. You should be picking one and tripling down on which one works the best and doing more of it. And then when you can't do more, move to better. And then if you can't do better, move to new. So what does more look like? Because this is the first lever that most entrepreneurs ignore because it's not sexy. So do a much larger amount of what works. So for me, for example, I'm doing cold outreach. I'm also doing content. If I compare the two, cold outreach is doing well, yes, but content is doing significantly better. Do they support each other? Yes. I was just about to add in paid ads, but that would be new. Why can't I do 4 videos a day? I could. That would be more, wouldn't it? Why couldn't I send 2,000 emails a day instead of 500? I could. Why don't I? And so I need to go through this process. You need to go through this process. We all need to go through this process first. And almost always the answer is just do more. Like do a disgusting amount of volume, so much that it would be unreasonable for you not to be a crazy success. So ask yourself, what are you doing right now and what's stopping you from doing 10 times more of it? The answer is almost nothing, almost always nothing, because nothing is stopping you, you just never ask the question. So if you're doing 100 cold emails a day, why can't you do 1,000? If you're spending $1,000 a day on ads, why can't you do 10,000? Instead of trying to do TikTok and Meta and Snapchat ads, why can't you just spend $10,000 a day on Meta? If you're making one piece of content a week, and I'm talking to me here, why not daily? If I'm making one piece of content a day, why can't I make 3 pieces of content a day in a live video? Why can't I do that? I could do it. I just need better systems. And so it all comes down to this rule of 100, which will change your life. 100 primary actions a day for 100 days. So 100 primary actions every single day for 100 days. So that's 100 outreaches a day, 100 cold emails a day, 100 minutes of creating content, and at least 1 post a day, and $100 a day of paid ads. Now, this is something that we talk about and we teach inside the Shipping Society. I'm not going to make a big song and dance about this, but I'm going to. You can see here that the price is usually... That's not the price. The price is usually $119 per month. I am going to bring that down to $49 for the next handful of people for Black Friday. And this is the only place that I'm going to talk about it, at least for the next couple of days. And I'm going to close it after a handful join. So if you want to learn about the rule of 100, about 100 actions for 100 days, this is my 84th video. And I have made tens of thousands of dollars, but most of it came in the last couple weeks. And so inside the classroom, I detail everything about how to do all of this. And I talk about all of this on the weekly calls. The most recent one was incredible. We had something like 15 people attending, and we jumped from 1 to 1, and we removed all their bottlenecks. It was incredible. The community is fantastic. We share things like prompts. This video alone is worth admission, because it's a 30-minute video of me talking about how to set up all the DMARC and the DKIM and all of that inside your to do cold outreach. So look, if you don't want to do all this yourself, if you don't want to Google things and spend 25 million years on YouTube trying to figure it out and piece it all together, for $49 a month, you can lock that in and you can join the Shipping Society, where every day, everybody that is being held accountable is shipping 100 minutes or 100 actions of a meaningful piece of content or work for 100 days. It'll change your life and change your business. It has done that for me. So if you want more details for that, I suggest you watch this video and click the link down below. All right, it's going to be 50% off for the next couple people. Now, if you don't have enough leads, you're not doing enough of the core 4. So you need to come back here and go, all right, which one are you going to pick? And then do 100 days of that, and then do 10 times more. Okay? Now, what does better look like? Well, increase lead output without more input. And so, for example, for me, if I'm making one piece of content a day, if I'm getting average 500 to 600 views a day, can I ramp that up to get 1,000 to 1,500 views? Can I work more on the thumbnail and the title and the idea and make better content so that instead of spending an hour and a half on a video, I spend 2 hours, but I get double the lead flow? Can I do that? It's the same with my outreach. Can I test different angles? Can I try different things? Can I get a 28% reply rate instead of a 20% reply rate? So improve the pipeline so each unit of effort produces more leads. And it's just about testing, because you don't know until you know. So the more you do more until it breaks, and then you fix the bottleneck. So once you've just exhausted more, and almost always everybody that's listening to this, the problem that you have in your business is that you just need to be doing more. And so I'm speaking to the 20% of people who have done the more, and now they're like, how do I get better? So test, break, fix, repeat equals more leads. So again, if 30% opt in, can you get 35%? Because this is a 16% increase in throughput. And if you just apply these tiny little changes, you can 2x the lead flow, right? So like little changes here make a massive, massive difference. So the testing protocol that Hormozi suggests is test one thing per week per platform. If you test multiple things, you're just not going to know what's working. So split test impacts each other, right? So changing multiple variables confuses results, and prioritize one thing at a time and run long enough to get real data. So you can't split test something for a couple hours and then change it unless you've got hundreds of thousands of people visiting your page every single day. So Hormozi says front end steps have the lowest conversions. So like 1% click-through rate, smallest improvements, 1% to 1.1% have huge lifts. And the back-end steps are often already high enough. So front end is like headline, hook, call to action, landing pages, image, ad creatives. These produce the highest ROI. So when to do more versus when to do better. If you're under $1 million in profit, almost always the answer is just do more. Just do more. Like, what would you have to do to 10x the volume that you're currently doing? If you're over $1 million in profit, then better usually is the highest ROI, and the order flips to better, more, new. But I imagine that most of you listening to this are going to be in the more bucket. Now, for the 5% of you who are ready for the new, the final lever is to add in new channels. So after you've already scaled existing volume, i.e. more, and improved the pipeline, i.e. better, then you add in new. So new places, new audiences, new platforms, new content types, new ad placements, and new core 4 channels. So if we look at the market reality here, we've got most people think that it's like there's a very small amount of the market, and that's why they tend to hop to different platforms and be like, oh, I've saturated Meta, I need to jump to TikTok. But the truth is there's billions of people and there's hundreds of millions of customers waiting for you to reach them. You just need to spend more and do more ad creative and do more. Using only one medium on one platform to one audience and one style of messaging isn't a terrible idea. Because again, most people think that, like yesterday I had a call with a competitor and it's like, oh, we're competition. Well, we're not really, because we're fishing in the same pond, but the pond is this gigantic, massive ocean with hundreds and hundreds of millions of people. The chances of us having a crossover is next to zero. And so if you only advertise on one platform, you are ignoring all these different other types of ways of reaching your customers. So it is good to expand out once you have exhausted more and better. And think about it like this. You think that this is the whole pie, like this is your entire market and you've saturated it completely. But really, it's like this tiny, tiny little portion in one of the core 4. So that's why once we, like the goal is to, saturate this completely. And this is not what it looks like. It usually looks like this or even 10 times the size of this. And then the goal is to, once you've saturated that, to move out into different types of the core 4. But again, almost everybody listening to this is not going to be applicable. So if any competitor is getting clients you're not getting, then there is more to be done. There are more channels, there are more placements, and there is more messaging you can test and more audiences. And competitor success is proof of opportunity. So levels of new from easiest to hardest. So new placements, easiest. New platforms, slightly more difficult. New media and new platform, slightly more difficult. And then new core 4 channel, which is the hardest, which is what most people do. And what I'm doing cold outreach and content, and I'm not going to go into run ads. Well, why can't I do different types of new within my core 4? Like, can I do content across TikTok and Twitter, for example? Because that would still be a new thing, but it would just be within my content bucket here, right? So really, if you're listening to the things I'm saying, this is like a video for me to stay on track. So hopefully some of you guys also relate. Now, the rule of minimum change. Don't swing the pendulum too far and don't overhaul anything. Try to make half steps. So fully juice each half step and then move on to the next. This avoids breaking your existing system. And anytime you implement any kind of a change, you are going to have a 20% drop in productivity and output, guaranteed. So make sure that it's something that is worth doing. Even Hormozi says he has a big list of things that he calls his great ideas. He puts them down and then he ignores them. And then he doesn't touch them for months or years. So when to introduce new? This is really important. You only introduce new when your returns from more or better are lower than the expected returns from adding something new. That is the threshold. And then finally, the action plan here is do more. So increase the volume to max capacity and remove as many constraints as possible. If you haven't started, do the rule of 100. 100 meaningful actions or 100 meaningful pieces of work or 100 minutes of work done every single day. No excuses for 100 days. If you go back and you look at my videos, there were days when I was like bedridden and I'm still making videos. Move on to better. Weekly tests, fixing the bottlenecks, front to back optimization, and think about it like you can only make 52 improvements a year, so prioritize the ones that make the most sense, and then work down that list and track everything. And then once you have completely saturated both of more and better, you move on to new, which is new placement first, then new platform, and then if you must, new core 4. But don't jump from here straight to new core 4. You will get wrecked. Set up, test, scale, return to more, and then repeat forever. And that is the cycle, and that is Hormozi's $100 million scaling formula. More, better, new. Don't make the mistake of jumping straight to new. Always try and 10x before you move on to making slight adjustments, because you are almost guaranteed to not be doing the volume that you should be doing, because as Hormozi says, volume negates luck. So everything comes down to the amount of work that is being done, the amount of input that is being done. And so that's almost always just do more. So if I leave you with nothing else from this video, I challenge you to do more and commit to doing it for 100 days. And if you want accountability and some action steps, and you want access to me personally, privately, and ACQI and all the other stuff that's in here, then the Shipping Society is significantly discounted, like more than 50% for Black Friday. So check it out. I'll leave it linked down below. But thank you guys, and I'll see you in the Shipping Society. Peace.